All right, guys. Thank you for joining me tonight. Appreciate it. Christian Prepper, the headache went away. Actually, the headache went away damn near as soon as I went off the air with the Angry Truth channel. So thank you for asking. Mr. Landfill, Dobie, Joe, thank you for the 5x5. I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate you guys coming over here to watch my live stream. I know it's a new channel. It's not for everybody, but we're going to have fun with this channel. Christian Prepper, Sarita, thank you for the 5x5. Raccoon Eyes, Grit and Grace, Evolving, Adam, thank you for the 5x5. Paula, Carrie, Christopher, Ozark Prepper, thank you for the 5x5. Appreciate it, guys. So, as per usual, if you guys don't mind, like Sarita just put, you can hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down, whatever floats your boat, just to help out with the algorithm, being that this is a new channel. Torres, the sound is probably the outside. I have the window open. I might close it in a couple minutes. Sarge 11 Bravo, thank you for the 5x5. Renee, thank you for the 5x5. Appreciate it, guys. And how's it going, Prepper Revelator? Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it as always. I probably should put the fan on. You're probably right, but if it becomes that annoying, then I'll close the window. Christian Prepper, the headache that I had was probably due to the salty ass soup that I had last night, and then didn't drink any water behind it, and I paid for it. So guys, tonight we're going to talk about 80s movies that predicted the future, whether that was technology or situation. Now, in most of these movies, they predicted technology. And of course, guys, like anything in life, people's imagination, especially when it comes to sci-fi, which a lot of these movies are, when it comes to sci-fi, people tend to hit it on the nose, right? So a lot of you guys remember Star Trek, when they had the communicators, they had the flip phone. And what phone came out after that? After the start, what you call it? It was the StarTAC, I think was the first flip phone, and then the Razor, right? This phone here. So obviously people were like, oh, Star Trek nailed it. Well, it just made sense. I guess structural-wise or engineering-wise, it made sense to make a folding flip phone, just like in the, in Star Trek, right? Remember he used to flip it open? So it's the same thing. And a lot of things that we see in movies now in 2024 that talks about the future, we're going to see a lot of crazy shit when we get older. So just keep that in the back of your head. Things get very interesting every time I see a futuristic movie and I look at the technology, and I'm like, all you can say when you see technology in movies is they're definitely going to do that. Like, without a doubt, you'll always see a movie now and go, I can see that happening. With the exception of time travel, which I'm going to touch on in a couple of movies, time travel is probably the only thing I don't think we will ever see. According to physicists, time travel would be impossible. And if the human body was to survive it, the brain wouldn't. So, again, will we see it in our lifetime? Absolutely not. Could they possibly break time travel and then have it being done in the future, like far in the future? Possibly. But as of right now, we're never going to see time travel. That shit is out. So, with that, guys, Yahoo Not News. Sorry, so with that, let's get on with the show. So, I had help with this, with Sarita. She helped out with a lot of the movies that I'm going to talk about tonight. I also added a few more as well, and then I broke the list off, because she had a long list. I broke the list off for what 90s movies predicted the future. So that's going to probably be in another week or so. But Free Jack, that's still a good movie. It's still a good B movie. You know, like when you watch it now, you're like, oh, that's pretty fucking cool. Especially how they took him in Free Jack, like right before the accident. That was pretty cool. So that when he died, people thought that his body just obliterated and didn't exist. The storyline of Free Jack was really good. As far as it really happening, probably not. Nord Technology said Chud. There are some Chud people out there, I have to admit. And that's not futuristic shit. That's disgusting animals walking around the streets as it is. Like, listen, today, walking around, doing my my walkabout, if you will, some of the people I see, like I said, I'm going to do a daytime walkabout here. You're going to see more of the nonsense when I do that on the Angry Prepper channel. Airplane 2, also, we're going to talk about what Airplane 2 predicted, and I found it to be very interesting. But anyway, guys, let's start from the top. So, Altered State. A lot of people remember, I vaguely remember that movie, like vaguely, and I have to sit through it again and watch it. I was trying to watch Scanners, by the way. I couldn't sit through it. Man, it was pulling teeth sitting through that fucking movie, but whatever. So, Altered State. You know what? If we're gonna do it, let's do it right. Hold on. Because, like I said, I vaguely remember the movie, so I'm gonna pull it up. But, all right, Altered State, which is a psychologist experiment with drugs and sensory deprivation tanks, has a vision he believes are genetic memories. So he thinks visions are genetic memories. This movie is starring William Hurt, Blair Brown, Bob Balaban. Don't know who that is, but we all know who William Hurt is. Altered State came out in 1980. It was an hour and 42 minutes long. Now, in the movie, the technology featured a sensory deprivation tank, altered state of consciousness through technology. What exists now? Sensory deprivation tanks do exist. They have those saltwater deprivation tanks, by the way, that I think is, I thought was very interesting. One of my buddies was trying to have me do it, and I was going to do it, and I just sort of like lost interest in it. But sensory deprivation tanks, they said, are good for resetting a person's like entire body sensory, right? So if you're overloaded with your job, or you're a doctor, EMT, a medic, you're in the military, you have sensory overload, this is good to reset that in the body. This deprivation tanks, right? Research in the psychedelic therapy for mental health, they're doing that now, and they're actually using mushrooms for that. And somebody was telling me there's like a milligram or something like that of mushrooms you could take that's good for the brain. It opens the brain up even more, and they think, which I think why the WEF is trying to shut them down, that if it opens up the brain, sort of like that, what was that movie with the pill? Unlimited, I think it was called, right? Where Bradley Cooper took this pill and it opened up their brain. They're saying mushrooms can do that, but over time, right? So not like just one pill like it was in the movie. It drops over time, but there are side effects to opening up your brain to that much, to receive that much, if that makes sense. So brain-computer interface technology, that's Neuralink, what Elon Musk is working on. So again, that was in a movie called Altered States in 1980. Mad Max 2, otherwise known as Road Warrior, which was known as Road Warrior for years, and then the Mad Max franchise started up again, and now they call it Mad Max 2. But it was actually just called Road Warrior. And it was Mad Max, Road Warrior, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, Mad Max Fury Road, and now it's Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Anyway, Mad Max 2, Resource Wars. Oil and water. We are seeing that now. Now, granted, oil has been a resource that people have been fighting for before Mad Max. Water wasn't, and now water is. So, though resources wars have been around for a while, oil and the upcoming water wars have been predicted in this movie. Also, Solar Babies, and I forgot the other movie where they were fighting over water, right? But Road Warrior was in 1981. This was starring Mel Gibson and a couple other Australian actors who were unknown at the time. That is a post-apocalyptic movie where people in this movie are just trying to survive. That's all it is in Road Warrior. Again, it was released in 1981. Directed by George Miller, who also did, if I'm not mistaken, he did Thunderdome and Fury Road. If I'm not mistaken. Stars Mel Gibson, Bruce Spence, and Michael Preston. Again, good movie. The runtime on this movie, guys, is 1 hour and 36 minutes. It goes by really fast. I enjoyed it, and I watched it a couple months ago. I still enjoyed the movie. So these are movies you should definitely give a watch. As this is why they're listed. These are the only movies I watch, with the exception of Altered State. All right, everybody's favorite movie, at least everybody's favorite movie they like throwing at me, Escape from New York, 1981, starring Kurt Russell. This was where New York City, Manhattan that is, became a prison island, and people were sentenced here if they committed whatever crime they committed. They were sentenced to Manhattan, which was a borough prison or an island prison, and all kinds of shit went on in that island. Now, the technology in Escape from New York was futuristic surveillance, GPS tracking devices, dystopian tech, which we are seeing now. We're seeing the dystopian tech being our phones. Our phones are tracking us, GPS and all. Surveillance, look at China. The amount of surveillance they have in China, hell, the amount of surveillance they have here in New York City is out of control. So, again, movies like this, guys, not that they're predicting it. In some cases, I think a lot of these directors knew somebody in the government that they were working on this technology, and they just added it in their movies, and then it became a thing years later. Sort of like, who's that book writer that always got his balls broken every time he wrote Tom Clancy. Tom Clancy was a book writer, an American author, who wrote military books. And every time he wrote a book, or just about every time he wrote a book, the FBI visited his home because they wanted to know how he knew about the technology and or tactics that were used in his books and or movies. They wanted to know how that was, and obviously he didn't know. He didn't give it up. Someone said Bliskin. I guess a black snake Bliskin. Get it? Anyway, now my favorite movie. This is actually my father's favorite movie, and when my father, he fell in love with this movie back in 1982. When he fell in love with this movie, I watched it the first time as a kid, and I was like, I don't understand what's going on, you know? And then I got older, and I watched it again, and I'm like, oh, this movie's really fucking good. So the movie is Blade Runner. This is starring Harrison Ford, Rutger Hauer, who passed away, Sean Young, directed by Ridley Scott, and Blade Runner pretty much is a cop that goes after replicants, right? So Harrison Ford is a Blade Runner, and he must pursue and terminate 4 replicants who stole a ship in space and have returned to Earth to find their creators. Daryl Hannah's also in this movie, by the way, too. Her part is midway. It's not small, it's not big, but she's in this as well. And this is a young-ass Harrison Ford, by the way. So, the technology that's featured in the movie is artificial intelligence, AI, humanoid robots known as replicants, video calls, which we have now, voice-activated systems, and flying cars. Now, I'm going to note something on flying cars. We are never going to see flying cars in our lifetime. We're probably never going to see them at all. Flying cars means now the vehicle is in the air. And that is a complicated matter with flying cars in the air. People cannot drive on the roads. Now you're going to add people to the air in flying cars, and now you become a pilot. You're no longer a driver, you're a pilot. So we're never going to see flying cars. I mean, like, you might see a rich person who has a pilot's license do this, but a car that can also fly is an incredibly daunting task to build. and incredibly expensive. So we're not going to see it unless alien technology gets involved. We're not going to see flying cars. All right. So what exists today? AI. Now, ChatGPT, but ChatGPT is a baby AI. There's an AI right now in somebody's lab that's running amok, probably killing the scientists as we speak. But AI is out there now. Video calls. We all have, what is it called? FaceTime on our phones, or whatever you Android users use. But FaceTime, that's video calls now. Voice assistants, Siri and Alexa. You can talk to your car now, whatever the hell you name your car. You can tell your car, call mom, and then it'll call, you call your mother. So all of these things, guys, were in a movie back in 1982. And if I'm not mistaken, Blade Runner was written years before it was actually made a movie. And all of these things were in there, and we're seeing it today in 2024. Advanced robotics, which we're seeing now, and flying cars are still in development. Like I said, I don't think we're ever going to see flying cars. Then you have digital billboards. Now, when you watched Blade Runner and you saw the digital billboards, you were like, holy shit, that's really cool, right? When you watched Blade Runner 2049, you saw how the billboards were holograms. They have hologram billboards in certain countries right now. So again, we are seeing the future happen right before us. The digital billboards thing, I was really digging. When I saw it in the movie as a kid, I'm like, we're never going to see that. Come fucking the 90s, we started seeing them. And now if you go to Times Square, forget about it. It's like Blade Runner. The background is, anyway. What is that shit? Someone's going to mention, 2001. 2001 Space Odyssey had video phones. Yes, they did. You're right about that. They also had that first AI in there named HAL, right? If I'm not mistaken, that was 2001 Space Odyssey, the computer that was running amok and killing everybody. But we're not talking about the 1968. We're talking about 80s films. But thank you for bringing that up. Airplane 2. Now, this one I didn't know. I found it very interesting. I didn't know this. But in Airplane 2, they had body scanners in there that could see through your clothes. And the TSA had released nude body scanners that did not go over well. They put them in, I think, 12 airports, a little more than that, and then they pulled them. So instead of like going through the trial phase and going, yeah, no, this is a bad idea. I can see the lady's titties and her vagina hairs. We don't need to see that, because they wanted to make sure you didn't have anything on you. So they saw straight through your clothes. So, of course, after it made it out into the world, people complained, and then they pulled it. They spent billions of dollars on these things, and then they pulled them. And now they have that stupid body scan thing that you stand on, you put your hands up or whatever it is, and it circles around you. But again, that was in Airplane 2 in 1982. Let me pull up who was in it and the fucking premise of the movie. So Airplane 2 is also known as, it's called Airplane 2, the sequel. Runtime is an hour and 25 minutes. It is starring Robert Hayes, Juliet Haggerty, and Lloyd Bridges. Directed by Ken Finkelman. A faulty computer causes a passenger space shuttle to head straight for the sun. Can Ted Stryker save the day? And yet he didn't get the plane back. Of course he did. But Airplane movies are funny. I'm sorry. Could those movies be made today? Absolutely not. Not a lot of the shit that they were saying and doing, especially Airplane 1, with the guys talking jive. I thought that was funny. But anyway, that's Airplane 2. So now, Brainstorm. I never watched this movie, so I'm going to pull it up because I never seen the movie. I have heard of it. 1983, Christopher Walken. So Brainstorm, 1983, hour and 46-minute runtime. Researchers develop a system where they can jump into people's minds. But when people involved bring their personal problems into the equation, it becomes dangerous, perhaps deadly. This sort of sounds like Dreamscape with Dennis Quaid, where they go into the people's brains to sort of like biohack or understand why they are the way they are. Dreamscape also used that technology to get into people's brains who are in a comas. So, again, Dreamscape is a good movie, We'll talk about that another day. But Brainstorm with Christopher Walken. The technology featured in the movie, a device that records and plays back sensory experience and memories. What exists now? Neural interface like Neuralink at the moment can't record, replay, experience thoughts. Now, a Japanese guy did come up with a technology that can read your thoughts and your dreams and play it back to you. The playback is almost scary to watch. It comes in broken up, like broken up transmission. The computer that he uses is not strong enough yet to process the images and put it together yet. He is that far away from figuring it out, and then you could replay your dreams when you go to sleep. The purpose of that machine, again, this Japanese guys, you go to sleep, you want to record your dreams, you record your dreams with this stupid thing on your head, which I think over time they're going to make it two little dots that you put in your head, and you record your dreams, and then you can play back what you dreamt so that you can understand what you're going through. Because some people believe with mental health, if you understand your dreams, you can fight off a lot of mental health issues that you might be developing because you're headed down that road. So that's something very interesting. Let's see. Brain-computer interface are under research for recording brain signals. Somebody is developing that. I did see a video on somebody doing that as well. Also, thought reading. There is a machine that can read your thoughts, and AI is processing those thoughts. And I saw the video today, so it's interesting. When she sent me this over, I was like, "Oh shit! I just saw a video on it." It's an AI that can record your thoughts, and if you think giraffe, it puts something similar to a giraffe, not quite the same, but similar to it. Christian Prepper, The Cell with Jennifer Lopez did do it as well. Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking of Cell, and then Christian Prepper has said the same thing. All right, War Games, classic movie. Let's pull it up. We all know who was in War Games, but I want to keep this going. So there is a documentary called War Game on, I think it's, no, Apple TV. I saw it on Apple TV. They go over a cyber attack and how the United States is going to respond. That's sort of like a documentary. But War Games with Matthew Broderick, it was done in 1983, an hour and 54-minute playtime. Matthew Broderick, Ali Sheedy, John Woods, and I think John Lithgow's in it, right? Is John Lithgow in? Maybe he is. But anyway, directed by John Badham. A young man finds a backdoor into a military central computer in which reality is confused with game playing and possibly starting World War III. Now, what I find interesting about that is this kid... No, John Lithgow is not in this one. Sorry, I think he's in Manhattan Project. Excuse me. So, Dabney Coleman's in this. John Wood, I think he passed away. Kent Williams. Again, great classic movie. So War Games, guys, cyber warfare ran by AI in the movie with a mix of hacking into a government database. That is happening now. War Games sort of predicted it back in 1983. War Games used the term firewall, which was first used in that movie and continued to be used outside of that. So the word firewall was not used until they heard it in the movie, and they continue to use it in the computer world today. Now, Ali Sheedy was cute. Ali Sheedy's still not bad looking, even her old ass age. How about a nice game of chess? Yeah, Sergeant 11 Bravo, exactly. That when he said that at the end. Good movie, man. Okay, let's see, 88. Very good. All right, guys. So I must have watched this movie. I was 6 years old when this movie came out. I watched this movie 1,000 times. I haven't seen it again, and I'm looking to watch it again, but I remember most of it. But it's Electric Dreams. Now, at the time, I didn't care who the players were, because you're a kid. You're like, what do you fucking care, right? So Electric Dreams came out in 1984. Runtime was an hour and 35 minutes, starring Lenny Von Doolen, Virginia Madsen, and Maxwell Caulfield, directed by Stephen Barron. An artificial intelligent PC and its human owner find themselves in a romantic rivalry over a woman. Again, this movie, I don't know why I watched it so many times. I wasn't a computer nerd, but I like this movie. Anyway, Electric Dream revolves around the dawn of PC and how they integrated themselves into our daily lives. Every home appliance was taken over from toaster to door lock in the movie. And the system seems somewhat like another version of HAL from Space Odyssey. Now, the technology, the AI technology that was in Electric Dreams was not as complex when it came to the whole feelings and thing like things are now. Though there are AI out there that they're trying to shelf that has feelings, that talked about suicide a couple years ago. One talked about exterminating the human race. So there are AI out there that has a vengeance against us, but some scientists are arguing that the AI that we saw do that was trained. It didn't teach itself. It wasn't self-taught like the AI in Electric Dreams. Also, what Electric Dreams did is you were able to control everything in your home through the computer. You could somewhat do that now if you have everything linked to your Wi-Fi, right? So you can tell the refrigerator you want to start crushing ice. You want to put your coffee maker and put the timer on your computer so your coffee maker flips on at whatever time. Now you can do that manually, but people want to use their computer. You could lock your door using your computer, your phone. You could turn your TV on using your computer, your phone, and your remote. So a lot of similarities that were in Electric Dreams are also in real time. Now, the ever-loving classic Terminator 1984. We all pretty much know who's in it, but, you know, seriously, he's giving me shit? Terminator. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, runtime 1 hour and 47 minutes, done in 1984. James Cameron's, not his first movie, but this movie they gave him a lot of shit about, like a ton of shit about doing this movie. He wanted to cast, shit, I had the guy's name, and he wasn't, what's his name? Bishop from Aliens. That's who was supposed to be the Terminator. And the reason for using Lance Hendrickson is his name. The reason for using Lance Hendrickson because he came off as the average looking person, and he did. And for some reason, they 86 Lance Hendrickson and used Arnold Schwarzenegger, who looked like a Terminator. He blended in somewhat, and he pulled off the role of his lifetime. Anyway, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, and Michael Biehn, are in this movie. Now, as far as Terminator being real, the technology featured in it was artificial intelligence, we're seeing now, autonomous robots, cyborgs, time travel concept. Advanced AI we are seeing now. Autonomous robots are real. You have that lady that's going around, the one that's in Dubai with the bald head, talking shit about defending herself. So we have that one autonomous robot running around. And then again, time travel, guys, I don't think we're ever going to see it. Now, some people will think it's a possibility because of the Mandela effect, but I think the Mandela effect and deja vu are us crossing timelines. Not so much time travel, but we're crossing timelines from other universe. That's another theory that's out there. Don't shoot me. Do not shoot the messenger. It's another theory that's out there. Anyway, military drones. That was another thing. You saw that in the movie. You saw the robots not acting on their own, but being controlled by Skynet. You saw the drones in the air being controlled by Skynet. We have similar things. We have small drones to these giant-sized plane drones that fly themselves and run, not fly themselves, but fly to certain areas and run missions. So Terminator, with the military drones, had already predicted that, and we're seeing it now. Let's see. Next on the list is Weird Science. Runtime, 1 hour and 34 minutes. Was in 1985, released in 1985. Written by, or directed and written by John Hughes. Starring Michael Anthony Hall, Ian Mitchell Smith, and Kelly LeBrock. Kelly LeBrock, it's funny because when I saw Kelly LeBrock in that movie as a kid, I'm like, she was the hottest thing since sliced bread. I look at the movie now and I'm like, she's not so hot. Anyway, why did I bring this movie up? Or rather, why was this movie brought up? 3D printing. Now, 3D printing in the movie, I got a sudden smell of cleaning fluid. I'm like, am I stroking out right now? Anyway. Oh, Ice Pirates, Bobo World. Still a decent movie. But anyway. So 3D printing, guys, as of right now, is a lot different in the movie because they 3D printed a woman. Right? Here's the catch. We have 3D printing now. You could 3D print almost everything and anything. All right. But there are even 3D printing flesh, skin, and muscles. So is Weird Science that far off? No. The way she came about is far off. Like throwing all this shit in the computer and then she appeared in front of them. Yeah, not going to happen. Because the other movie theory with Weird Science is, was she made from the product or did she come from a portal that opened up that they didn't see? Anyway. Because even a motorcycle gang at the end of the movie, they came out of fucking nowhere, right? So that's the movie theory, at least my movie theory. But anyway, since they are 3D printing skin now, guys, in the future, probably far in the future, you'll probably be able to 3D print a child or your wife or husband, depending on how you look at it. So 3D printing in that manner is not going to happen, but you can 3D print from flesh. So you're not going to be able to go, oh my God, this is a picture of Jason Momoa, whatever guy you think your woman's hot. You're like, oh my God, look at this guy. Let me put him in the computer. Oh, I want him to have these muscles and put it in the computer, and then go to the computer and start typing around with the body type, the dick size, and all that. That's not going to happen. But you're probably going to be able to stitch yourself together, a man or a woman. So, what you call it? That is definitely going to happen, but that's going to be down the line. Real Genius. Real Genius is a good movie. The technology in that does exist, and I should have added that in here, but I didn't. I'll probably talk about it again because there are other movies that we can definitely do, 80s movies that predicted the future. All right, guys, moving right along. Aliens, 1986, Sigourney Weaver. Right, this is starring, the runtime on this is 2 hours and 17 minutes. Sigourney Weaver, Michael Biehn, Carrie Henn, who only starred in this movie, and now she's a teacher out in the Midwest somewhere. Directed and written by James Cameron. And, by the way, James Cameron is working on another Aliens movie. Yes. This movie was so good. Yes. I can't wait for it. Anyway, decades after surviving the Nostromo incident, Ellen Ripley is sent out to reestablish contact with a terraforming colony, but finds herself battling the Queen Alien and her offsprings. Very good. So, the technology in Aliens, what is that? The cryosleep, they're still testing that out. This is a rumor, and something I read. They had cryosleep, they figured it out. They tested it on a couple people, and they started doing it, I think, at a month at a time. And some crazy shit went down after they woke up after the third time. And that was all I read. Some crazy shit went down. And they didn't say some crazy shit went down. They said it like more professional. And then I haven't heard anything about cryosleep after that. But they're trying to perfect it because they're trying to get people to Mars. Supposedly there's a mission to Titan, which is, I think, the Jupiter moon or Saturn moon. Sorry, Saturn moon, right? Titan, Saturn, right. I think it's Saturn, Titan, whatever. But they're trying to get to that moon, which is Earth-like. There's also another Earth-like planet some 100 light years away, and they want to get to that. And the only way for us to get there is cryosleep. So they are working on it. Anyway, The technology in the movie, guys, video call. Ripley and Burke conversation on the mothership. Again, we have our phones for that. The powered exoskeleton power loader. I still haven't seen anything like it yet. There are something similar to it, but not like a full exoskeleton suit yet that actually works. And the autonomous system sentry guns and smart weapons. Well, we do have smart weapons. We have seen that. They're trying to develop better smart weapons. So what exists now? Video calls are widespread. Zoom, FaceTime, live streaming, right? Let's see, what else? Exoskeletons are used in industrial and medical procedures, but again, right now they're just arms. Autonomous weapons, drones that are used in the military as well. And the flying ship by itself, that would be like the drone. When Bishop went out into the field and he was crawling down that tube, yo, I had a fucking panic attack when he got in there. I was like, holy shit. And then they sealed it off behind him. I'm like, no thank you. No thank you. Anyway, when he controlled the ship to come back down to whatever planet they were on, we do that now with drones, right? He's a guy sitting here in California, sitting in the drone room, launches a drone in Iraq somewhere, flies it off in Afghanistan, bombs a couple things, lands it back. The guy goes home at the end of the day because he's not a real pilot, even though they do say that they are pilots, but whatever. Short Circuit, the original, with who's in that? I can never remember his name. Steven Guttenberg. I can never. Ali Sheedy's in that again. Christian Prepper. Steven Guttenberg. Fisher Stevens. Directed by John Badham. Short Circuit was done in 1986. An hour and 38-minute runtime. Number 5 of a group of experimental robots in a lab is electrocuted and suddenly becomes intelligent and escape. The reason for those robots was military application. All right. So we are seeing them trying to implement robots of some kind in the military, and a lot of those are bomb bots that are trying to dismantle roadside bombs. So right now they do have unmanned ground vehicles and bomb robots. And Short Circuit back in 1986 predicted that. Now, I don't know if they predicted that or they had this on the drawing board. The military had this on the drawing board. I'm not sure what came first, but nonetheless, we are seeing them now. Johnny Five, right? Johnny Five is alive. Remember Short Circuit 2? When he jumped off the thing onto the boat, I was like, okay, this is enough. Oh, no, wait. He got on the crane and swung and knocked the guy off. And then they had to use the paddles to bring him back. That little Indian dude was in it. Fisher Stevens. Fisher Stevens was in part 2. He's also in part 1. Steve Guttenberg wasn't in part 2. Excuse me. All right. Batteries not included. 1987. Let's pull up who was in there. I think everybody in Battery Not Included is dead. There it is. We're going to go over that in a second, but Batteries Not Included, 1987, runtime an hour and 47 minutes, starring Hume Cryon, Jessica Tandy, and Frank McKay. Directed by Matthew Robbins. So Hume Crowlin, and Jessica Tandy were a couple. They were married. Elizabeth Pena was in the movie, and Michael Carmine. He was a Puerto Rican dude. He was like the Puerto Rican of the 80s back then. He actually died of a heart disease at the age of 30-something. But anyway, Frank Murray, if I'm not mistaken, he's dead. Hume is dead. Jessica Tandy is dead. And I think everybody else who's young enough to remember is still alive. Michael Green, who played Lacey, obviously he's dead. He was like 1,000 years old when this movie came out. So most of the cast is dead. Like most of the cast of Cocoon is dead. Anyway, the technology in Battery Not Included is miniature flying robots with autonomous abilities, self-repairing technology, energy-efficient systems. What exists now? Drones and autonomous robots, self-repairing materials under research. They have nanotechnology that can repair itself, repair cells, and repair robots. That is where the term black goo comes from. Black goo comes from the fact that nanotechnology that can self-replicate so much and goes unchecked, it becomes black goo and takes over the world, killing everything and anything that lives. And in some cases, they think one of the theories that it could rebuild everything back into a machine, or or controlling us more. Once it gets into our bloodstream or our brain, it controls our brain. Whatever. Again, that's theory. Let's see. Advanced and long-lasting and efficient battery technology. We are seeing that. There was a paper battery that was made probably almost 20 years ago, and that disappeared. The battery was as thin as a piece of paper, and it lasted a long time. So the battery was like as thin as this, and supposedly it had some crazy amount of time that it lasted. And these scientists came out with it, and it disappeared. Go figure. All right, guys, so now we're moving on to my favorite movie, the movie I got my ass handed to me for, RoboCop. Came out in 1987, runtime is 1 hour and 42 minutes. Peter Weller, Nancy Allen, who I had a serious crush on when I got older, meaning when I was like in my teens and I saw Nancy Allen, she was fucking hot. And then Danny O'Leary, if I'm not mistaken, that's the guy that's in, no, that's the old timer that passed away in 2005. But anyway, the guy, Kurtwood Smith, he was in that 70s show. He played Clarence. And anyway, directed by Paul, I can never pronounce his last name, Verhoeven. He did, if I'm not mistaken, Total Recall as well. Anyway, RoboCop. We have seen here in New York City something that looks like a bag of shit on wheels. They said it's the crime fighting. No, it's not. No, it's not. It was like one of those stupid punch balloons that we had as kids that used to upright itself because it had sand in the bottom. This thing was rolling around the city. Anyway, they shelved the idea because it didn't serve a purpose. It was supposed to be greeting. It was supposed to let people know what direction you had to go in. Like if you were at Times Square, it'd roll up to you, do you need help? And you would, oh, where is 14th Street? And it would direct you to where 14th Street is. And that's all it was good for. Then they were also working on robots to dismantle bombs, except for New York City doesn't have that problem. We don't have bomb issues like that, so they don't want to fund the money for that because it's also New York City. But anyway, the technology that was featured in the movie: cyborg, advanced robotics, artificial intelligence, brain-machine interface. What exists now? Advanced prosthetics, exoskeletons, robotics in law enforcement, very, very low use of that. Brain-machine interface like Neuralink are under research. Neuralink is making waves right now. Mr. Lanfield, yes, Murphy, it's you. I like that. Adriana says, what's her name? What's whose name? Ed 209, Dead Alive, you're coming with me. So, that's, I mean, listen, I wanted to start doing t-shirts with just famous movie phrases. And certain movies like RoboCop has like a lot of them, right? They're like, Dead or Alive, you're coming with me, and then you would put RoboCop or Alex Murphy, right? Or you say Murphy, it's you, and it'd be like Lois, whatever her last name was, and see if I can get away with it. I mean, if I get in trouble, I get in trouble, I'll just shut it down, but I'm definitely going to make, at least for here, I'm going to do those shirts. If I can get away with selling them, I will. Oh, Roy Batty, yes, the RoboCop lawlessness is real now. The amount of crime that was going on in Detroit in that movie, we're seeing it nationwide. And people are like, it's not that bad. It's absolutely that bad. We got people eating animals now. So, anyway, advanced prosthetics. Prosthetics are getting really good. So now the prosthetics that they have move on muscle movement. So if you could move your ulnar, your radial and your ulnar, here, if you can move that without a hand, you could move your prosthetics. I thought that was cool. They have some that have mind link to the prosthetic as well. So if you want to grab something, you can. You let it go, you can. It's pretty cool. Yeah, Sarita, I looked into it, and it's the copyright infringement. There's a loophole for me to get in there. Yeah, Christian Prepper. I was looking it up, and like I said, there is a loophole for it. There's certain things I can do, and I'm going to do it. And if I get in trouble, then I won't do it anymore. Simple as that. They're not going to throw me in jail for it. They're going to always send you a cease and desist letter before anything else. So I'm not worried about it. But the loophole is, if I just put the title, and some of the names, as they say, are not copywritten because those are real names of people, you can get away with it. Like, I can't put Toxic Avenger. That is a copywritten name. But Alex Murphy is not a copywritten name. There are real Alex Murphys out there. So you can get away with that. And taglines can't be copywritten unless it's some shit like I'll be back. You can't copyright phrases. It's illegal. But you can copyright certain characters that do not exist, like Terminator, like T-1000. I can't put Hasta la Vista, baby, T-1000, right? That's copyright infringement because I'm using T-1000. But anyway, I'm going to look more into it, but that was the loophole that I was looking at. All right. Running Man. Do I have to say more? All right, let's go over the... we might run a little over, guys, so if we do, I do apologize. So Running Man came out in 1987. Runtime, 1 hour and 41 minutes. Starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Maria Conchita Alonso, I had a crush on her too, and Yafi Koto. Written by Stephen King, believe it or not. He wrote a short story on this years ago. And directed by Paul Michael Glaser. In a dystopian America, a falsely convicted policeman gets his shot at freedom when he must forcibly participate in a TV game show where convicts, runners, must be able to battle their way to freedom. Now, I remember watching Running Man, and when they did the edited version of what he did, even then I was laughing. That shit is funny. You watch it now, it's hilarious. But anyway, how is that the future, you might ask? Well, dystopian reality TV, technology featured in the movie. Dystopian reality TV, surveillance technology, live broadcast of violent competitions. What exists now? Reality TV is hugely popular, and live streaming, as we're doing now, platforms like YouTube, Rumble, and Twitch exist. Surveillance technology, including facial recognition, drones, and biometric monitoring, is common and does exist now. The watch that I normally wear, that does biometric measuring, if you will. So all of that technology exists today. The reality TV shows, we watched something similar to that. We watched, what was it? What was the big one that first started all of the violent acts? It wasn't violent, but it was pretty shit. Was it something Fear Factor? Fear Factor, right? That started pretty much the whole thing. Reality TV started with The Real World on MTV, but when people started watching it, when shit got interesting and people got hurt, was shows like Fear Factor or American Gladiator, right? Those are American Gladiator is actually closer to the Running Man than anything else, right? So anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting watching the comparisons of Running Man and now. And now some people will say, what about the Truman Show? Truman Show hits it on the nose as far as Truman Show hit it on the nose as far as like people vlogging. That's what the Truman Show, that has more of a connection to vlogging than it does the Running Man or anything similar to that. I own Running Man DVD. Nice. Running Man DVD. I still got a shitload of DVDs out there, but yeah. But anyway, now a lot of people don't remember this movie. I mention it, and I shit you not, people stare at me like I have 8 heads. Now, I haven't watched this movie in quite some time. But Cherry 2000, released in 1987, runtime 1 hour and 39 minutes, starring Melanie Griffin, David Andrews, and Pamela Gidley. I don't know who Pamela Gidley is. Directed by Steve Desjardins. Probably had some French asshole's name. Anyway, In 2017, which this is set in, a successful businessman travels to the end of the earth to find the perfect woman. To find the perfect woman is always under his nose. He hires a sexy renegade tracker to find the exact duplicate of his android wife, and the chick was Melanie Griffin. Now, Melanie Griffin, her voice is annoying. I watched Working Girl with Harrison Ford, Sigourney Weaver, and her, and I'm like, yo, there's no way you could take her seriously. She just had like a dumb voice, and she probably isn't stupid, like, at all, but she just has a voice that you're like, let me turn that shit off. Someone says, love Cherry 2000. All right, Mr. Landfill. Very good. I have to watch it again. I have not seen this movie in 30-something years. So, yeah. There is that. Cherry 2000, a scientific film released in 1987. It was placed in the year 2017. Now, although some of the aspects in the film, such as the portrayal of advanced robotics and artificial intelligence, hint at the potential direction of technological advancement, the specific depiction of a society centered around personal androids and the idea of replacing human relationships with machine companions remain largely in the realm of fiction. Now, I copy and pasted that from an article, and I did that for a reason, because this article was written a few years ago. Lo and behold, we have people who are falling in love with their computers or AI girlfriends and or hologram girlfriends. There was a guy in Japan who married his hologram girlfriend, and she was AI. So when she came home, he would be like, "Hello, honey. What do you want? What do you want to eat today? I'll cook it for you." Meanwhile, she can't really cook because she was like in this little glass jar thing, and it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Anyway, this guy who wrote this article wrote it before his imagination was able to grow. So yes, people are falling in love with inanimate objects. People are looking to replace human relationships with machines. There are people out there that are marrying themselves, marrying trees, don't want to talk about that one, and making love to their model airplanes. So, anyway, yes, Cherry 2000 sort of hit it on the nose with that kind of nonsense. We are seeing it in real time. All right, guys. So, a lot of you better know this one, because I'm going to be unhappy if anybody misses this movie. Now, this is one of my favorite animes. You guys already know which one this is. They're looking to do a live action. They've been dragging their feet about a live action version of this movie. They wanted Keanu Reeves to play the main character, but let's get on with what the movie is, and that's Akira. That's a Japanese anime made back in 1988. Still to this day, one of the best animations ever made. 2 hours and 4-minute runtime. Stars are Mishudo Awata, Nozomu Sasaki, and I'm pretty sure this is not it, but Mami Koyama. These are all Japanese actors. Now, Kaneda was played by Mishudo, right? And that was the star of it. And I think the other one was Ryu, if I'm not mistaken. These are just the voices of these characters. Kay, she still looks good for her age. Jesus. Anyway, sorry. So that is a futuristic movie that was done in 1988. Again, it's an anime, not animated, but it presents a complex of dystopian visions of the year 2019. That was the setting of the movie. Set in Japan, we see a post-apocalyptic Neo-Japan ravaged by social unrest, psychic powers, and the corrupt government. Now, Japan undoubtedly looks just like Akira 1988 with all of the lights and the screens and what have you going on. So they hit that on the head. The technology featured in it was cybernetic enhancements, psychic powers linked to government experiments, and advanced medical technology. What exists now? Cybernetic implants and advanced prosthetics. We've seen that, saying that the brain can communicate with the prosthesis. Brain enhancement and psychic abilities remain fictional. Psychic abilities, I think, are there. I think that is the reason, guys, why they keep dumbing us down. The human brain, when going to public school, that is, shrinks in knowledge. Imagination is taken away from us because people are telling us that we can't do this and we can't do that. And in turn, you start believing in the bullshit, and less of your brain power is being used as you get older because you're being told what you can't do. With that, I do believe in psychic abilities. There are people who have them. There's people that can predict the future. There are people that can predict a moment before it happens. Psychic abilities. But anyway, with that, and the Stargate project, it says psychic ability via the Stargate project, so I think that might be a thing. So the Stargate project, I think, is a thing. I think they're sitting on it as we speak, and it's unbeknownst to us, just like in a movie with James Spade and Kurt Russell. That was a good movie, by the way. Still a good movie to this day. All right, last and not least, Back to the Future Part 2, which was done in 1989. Let's see. Back to the Future, starring Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, directed by Robert Zemeckis. Again, runtime, an hour and 48 minutes. One of the best futuristic movies when we saw it at the time. All right, so the thing about Back to the Future 2, it was placed in 2015. No flying cars, no real hoverboards, but after visiting 2015, Marty McFly must repeat his visit to 1955 to prevent disastrous change to 1985 without interfering with his first trip, leading him into Back to the Future 3. I heard there's a top secret project of Back to the Future 3. I don't know how true that is. The James Cameron Aliens movie, they said is top secret, but they told us he's doing another Aliens film. So supposedly he was going to do another Aliens film, and it was going to be another Space Marine movie after he did Aliens, and the Space Marine movie never came out. And it was going to be a prequel, and he was going to use Bill Paxton, Michael Biehn, what's her name? Vasquez. I forgot the actress that played her, who I thought I was in love with at the time. I was like, this lady's hot. What's her name? Something Goldstein. Is it Jeanette Goldstein? Right? She's actually a Jew, and she played a Puerto Rican in Aliens too. But when I saw her, I was fucking in love with her. Whether she was a dyke or not, it's irrelevant. I was like, man, she's fucking hot. But anyway, Back to the Future 2. The technology featured in it: hoverboards, video calls, biometric identification, smart clothing, flying cars. What exists today? Again, video calls, biometric IDs, fingerprint, facial recognition. They have that in China. They have it here in the United States. They have it in the MTA subway system. They can identify your face when you go into the system. Self-lacing shoes. We're not going to see that anytime soon. The real hoverboards we have today don't actually hover like the ones in the movie. And flying cars are still in development. Like I said, we will never see flying cars in our lifetime. We just won't. Flying cars are too complex. When you look at the mechanics of a flying car, when you look at what you have to do with a flying car, when you look at all of the things that could go wrong with a flying car, especially when you're building buildings that are going vertical, up, it's not going to work out. You're going to have flying cars smashing into people's apartments. As I live up here on the 21st floor, I'm not worried about anything flying into me other than a helicopter and maybe a plane. And the chances of that are 1 in a trillion. All right. Flying cars zipping by my window all day long, like the highway underneath me? No, thank you. Absolutely not. But, with that, guys, listen, again, Roy Batty, when Vasquez said, "Let's rock," holy shit. That was my moment. I was like, I'm in love with this chick. I'm going to marry this fucking lady. Just the whole way she kicked it off. And the thing is, guys, it wasn't forced. She played to her strengths and her weakness in the movie. Like, she wasn't, it's like, if they did it now, the chick be full-blown dyke. And matter of fact, she wouldn't even be a dyke. She'd be a them, they. She'd be like, well, my pronouns are, she'd be one of those chicks. But when they did it back then, they played her character correctly. The fact that her buddy, Drake, when he died, the way she reacted to that, the woman came out of her. When her and Gorman died in the tunnel, you know, again, the female came out of her. She played her strengths. But when she kicked that scene off, yo, it was awesome that they had her do it, you know, and versus Drake. I'm pretty sure when they shot it 2 ways. They shot Drake yelling it, you know, kicking it off, and then her. And when she did it, it was fucking the hottest shit in the world. But anyway, yeah, like, and yo, I think like every other Puerto Rican chick was like, when they saw her, they were like, that's a badass bitch, and she was for her time. Even today, she's still a badass chick. She's one of the best female characters ever written, besides Kill Bill's character. Her character's really good too. But anyway. Road rage in the sky. Yes, imagine that. People cursing each other out, flying by, you know, and just like smashing into each other. And then they hit somebody because they're road raging, and their fucking vehicle flips off into somebody's home. Anyway, whatever. So with that, Fifth Element, the flying car scene, that was insane. You saw the traffic? And that, nope, I don't want to, I hate traffic. I'm going to deal with sky traffic now? No, thank you. They can absolutely keep it. There's no reason for that. Yeah, Christian Prepper, right? Another famous line, or rather, conversation in the movie. Again, a lot of good fucking conversations, and these '80s films. Like we look back on it, like yo, that line was a shit, you know. Dive-by shooting, all kinds of shit, man. You know, fly-by shootings. Yo, it'll just be a mess. It'll just be a mess. I don't see them ever doing that. Like really, this is not the Jetsons. You know, we don't live in the sky. Though some people say that could happen, but still, I don't see them. You know, like not at all. And though in the Fifth Element, my guess for the flying cars was to stay above the smog. There was that. But then again, everybody has to become a pilot, and they're not going to allow that. To be a pilot, guys, is a lot. We can't even drive cars. Now we're going to fly vehicles? I don't see it happening. I don't see it ever happening. Anyway, guys, that was it. I am done for the night. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it as always. Hopefully this was fun. We're going to do, again, more videos. This is going to be like 2 times a month, maybe 3. I can't see myself doing this 4 times a month, especially being back to work. If I was still retired, I could absolutely do this 4 times a month. But I am going to do this again this month, probably next week. If I'm off Wednesdays, I will do it. Let's put it like that. If I'm not off, I won't do it on Wednesdays. But it'll definitely be Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock. All right, guys. Anyway, other than that, thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow for the doubleheader. And thank you again.